Okay, so we're going to talk about different situations you'll find yourself in, particularly in day games. So this is great for your outer game. You've got to understand how to make an approach and not blow it in the first second. Get this right, and then obviously the rest is going to open up for you. So there's two things you can't do, which all guys tend to do in the beginning. I did it. It's being too needy. It comes across needy when you do this, for instance. If I walk up to her and I'm looking at her like this, out the corner of my eye, now that's going to make her react in a very specific way. But guys do that because in their mind they don't really believe they're actually going to get a positive outcome out of it, and it shows in their body language straight away. Another thing a guy will try and do is I'll overcompensate and I'll try and walk up to her and they go too close or they're too aggressive. So it might look like this. They walk up to her and they're in a club or a bar and it might be here, and they're trying to be cool, but she's having to lean back. She knows that's uncomfortable. He doesn't get it yet. The ideal position would be about arm's length here. It's about right. Also, you can get your head position right, and she may tilt her head up and down to give you some attraction indicators, but she's very comfortable. She's standing her ground, you're standing your ground, and you can now talk like this, and you can also sway a little bit as opposed to leaning in like we were talking about, which looks like this. Like this. You end up doing this a lot. Now that's a little bit uncomfortable. I'm too close. I'm in her personal space too much, and she'll lean away perhaps. It's not very comfortable for her, but it's more comfortable if you turn this way and you can kind of just talk here and then turn this way. Talk here, turn this way, eye contact. So that's a nice comfortable position. See this kind of angle. When you're in a club, it's very, very good. Day game's a little bit different because you haven't got the ambience, the noise and the sound, so you don't have to listen too close. So you can actually talk from here. And this actually makes you look more alpha straight away. So if we turn this way and position you here, see how I'm standing here, but it's about arm's length away, but we're still pretty close. And we can probably move in and move out a little bit like this. We can make good eye contact without overdoing it, because you don't want to stare someone down. This would freak someone out if you just keep doing this. It's unnatural, but it is natural to focus on the eyes for a period and then look away as you're talking. You might look at something like this and then bring it back and make it a strong eye contact, a strong movement. It's very positive, very certain. It's not this, flickering, which guys do a lot when they're searching for something to say. So that's why the other tip I gave you, which is slow things down, means you can actually step back. You can be playfully defiant as well. So adding that playful aspect to your body language gives you space and time to play around with this interaction. And she might answer back with that one as well. And you might like, okay, game on. Internally, that's what's going on. And then with your language and the banter, you can continue that. That's flirtation. That's how it works. So it's that push and pull we were talking about before. So another thing that guys want to learn about, particularly for day game, is trying to stop someone in the street. It's quite important you get this right, because if you get it wrong, you'll freak her out completely and you're shot down. It's all over. So you want to be able to get this bit right by using the space you have. Assess whether you've got space to go around in front of her and actually stop her. I would highly recommend this. And I think a lot of women would prefer this because it makes a big statement about who you are. You don't want to do this. She's walking like this. That might freak her out straight away, regardless of how good your game is. It's much better to be bold, be brave, and just step out like this. You don't even have to put your hand up like the police might do, yeah? Which some guys, they recommend you do. I just say get in front, but make sure you've got a bit of distance, actually a little bit more than arm's length, because she'll take one more step forward, and then you end up in a very comfortable position, which is about here. Now you can begin talking. Notice my angle is a little bit softer. It's not front on. It's not too aggressive. It's a little bit more relaxed, but I'm very confident she can get that straight away. Eye contact is very solid. So when you're making approaches on the street, I'd recommend you do this. A lot of guys will avoid that, but you'll get better results, and you're in the game now. You can stay in the pocket, and she's going to probably test you out for about 5 seconds as well. So take your time. Use a false time constraint if you need to. Maybe the element we're talking about, just diffusing it, talking about maybe it's a random thing. and then drop your line, because she's going to be ticking some boxes like, okay, this guy's not trying to sell me something, he's not freaking me out, he's not this, he's not that. Now she's relaxed, you've established some comfort. Now your interaction is going to get 10 times better because she's in that mode. And then she might banter with you, so watch out for the dame game, but make it fun, because that's what it's all about. When you're doing night game, you can be much more playful than most guys, especially, there's no comparison with day game. Night game, you can get away with murder, you can be crazy. You've got the music, people are intoxicated, there's energy, there's vibe. So imagine you're flirting and bantering, and you've established a bit of keynote, and there's a bit of, what are you on about, this kind of thing. And then she's obviously going to play back a little bit as well. Ah, it's like that now, is it? Okay. Put your hands out. Okay. Higher. All right, let's go. I'm taking you away. And you can walk off. Now that's very playful. If you do this in a club, think about everyone watching. They're all going to enjoy the moment. It's going to look quite funny. She wasn't expecting that. It was a complete surprise and shock. It's going to create some sort of response within you that it's going to another place than predictable stuff, isn't it? Subconsciously, she's going to feel like you're an alpha male as well. So you do have to be careful that you haven't had too much to drink and you don't drop her on her head. That's the only advice I'm going to give you here, yeah, is you've got to be very, very careful with this lady. You don't want to injure her as a result of something you try to do to establish more attraction. But place her down very carefully. She knows the stakes are up a little bit and she'll come back with something else. But now you're conspiring against each other a little bit. It's a very good attitude, a good approach to seduction. It's be physical, use words, use wit, use charm, use eyes, use everything you've got. Do things other guys don't do. That there was just a silly moment, but you know what? It makes an impression. It makes an impact, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Okay, here we have Kezia's sister, Hadassah. She's going to help us with this demonstration. All right, so what we're going to talk about here is introducing an element of keynote. And it's very important to establish this quite early on. A lot of the guys are quite fearful of this. So why do you need to do it? Because you are hoping for this interaction to go in a specific direction where it gets very physical. Now, if she isn't used to you being physical with her quite early on, it will come as a shock and surprise when you suddenly do. For instance, maybe we've been talking and keeping a distance for a couple of hours on a date, and I'm trying to be polite and sophisticated and elegant, and then I'm thinking, all right, I need this to move forwards. I might be tempted to try and reach out and try and go for a kiss, which might freak her out a little bit, because she's like, what the hell is happening? We haven't escalated anything. You've gone from here, from nothing, and you've just jumped up to this level. You've got to see escalation, especially with keynote, as a gradual process. And the sooner you can introduce this, the more comfortable she'll be with it, and the more she'll kind of oil the whole thing as well. She might start getting involved, and you're both doing it, and it escalates and goes in a healthy direction. So things you can do is make sure that you're sitting in a decent angle where you're pretty close and your knees and legs can touch a little bit. It will happen as you get closer, but also you're not leaning into her. You can be very, very relaxed and lean back. And you're still pretty close, but you also look more confident, you feel more confident. She feels more relaxed around you because you're not taking up her personal space. You don't want to be doing this straight away. It's just too much, too fast, too soon. It actually gives away value. It's not going to work for you. This is better. Some guys will view this and think, this just looks like arrogance. Well, it's because they can't do it. They don't know what it is, but it's showing that you're very relaxed and very, very confident. And she's also seeing a guy with high status. And you're seeing a woman of high status. She's sitting in a very, very feminine way, and she knows how to carry herself. So if I was a guy and I'm looking at her and thinking, and she's slouched and all this kind of stuff, I would pick up on that. It's the same as you doing this stuff. It's as bad as slouching for a woman. So be aware of these comparisons. So now we're talking, we can just talk about certain things and just introduce light touches where, because we're at an angle here where we can do this, my arm could even be here. It could be, you have a joke or a jest or something like this. Crazy. She might hit me as well. This is very normal. If you watch people having conversations, they will do this all the time. But then when you want to spice it up and be a bit cheekier, you got to be wary of where you can touch. There's certain areas you obviously can't touch. And I don't need to tell you, but anywhere near her vulnerable areas and more sexual areas around here, you must avoid for obvious reasons. So what does that leave you with? Do you know what? You can actually be playful with the knee. You might notice that she's got very cute knobbly knees. And do you know what? That will give her a sensation. It's kind of sexual, but it's just about borderline. You can get away with it, but it says you're cheeky and confident. So that wouldn't put you off necessarily, would it?
No.
Especially if it's done at the right time. There's other things you might notice about her shoes or feet. Wow, amazing shoes. And you might looking at them, and you're establishing a little bit of touch here, but it's allowed. She knows that, you know, this could become a physical sexual thing. She can feel that sexual tension already. So she's going to expect some sort of keno. So that's a good way to start. Another way, I just do ridiculous things. Sometimes you can just get away with anything. So one thing I do, I was speaking to a girl and she's asking if I was into health and fitness. And she looked at me and said, you obviously work out. And so it's just an opportunity to use keno. You use any opportunity you can. So I'm like, no, I haven't worked out for a couple of years. And I said, I'll prove it. I took a hand like this, but I took it in a certain way. And then we got into an arm wrestle. Now it looks ridiculous, but it's keno. You're actually establishing keno. Clearly, I'm going to win the arm wrestle if we take it seriously. But I'm not going to take it seriously. It's a game. Now we got some keno here, and I'm like, whoa, okay, I've got no chance. Now I'm just measuring her muscles like this. All right, okay, if you balance here and then here. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Whoa. I can do that now. Now that looks silly from the outside, but within it's playful, it's a game, you're establishing some keno, and you can use any excuse to do it. You don't have to be so premeditated. That's why being playful and having a good sense of humour can allow you to get away with murder. But can you see how we can establish keno very, very easily? And now I'm also a little bit closer, and if you want, you can kind of like, whew, that was a close contest or whatever, anything. For you to make her feel comfortable with the physicality. And that's what two people are getting together for. That's what men and women get together for. You know, so you must get comfortable with it. So another important thing I want to talk about is how to get into a position at least to kiss close, because this is where a lot of your first interaction is heading. Some people think it could go all the way, but I would say focus on the kiss first and take it from there. So you've got to have some sort of outcome to all this escalation, this keno. It's got to be moving in this direction. Now, what we're really doing is slowing things down and luring each other in. And what will happen is the words will have less and less meaning, and you'll be saying more with your eyes and your touches. And what's happening as well is the rest of the world is disappearing, and you're creating this small bubble where just the two of you exist, which is what sex is about, isn't it? It's the intimacy of just two people away from everyone else and no prying eyes. So this moment is setting you up for that. It's creating that moment. You need to be able to project that with your eyes and your body vibe. So first thing to do is to start slowing everything right down and actually indicate that there's a shift of gears going on. And it might be a little bit of a lean like this. She might meet me in the middle. That's often what happens. And then you might like just twirl her hair a little bit like this. And then you might just flicker your eyes a little bit to the lips. Not too obviously, just tease each other with this and she'll do the same. If she's doing the same, you're starting to get the right indicators for the kiss.